Good morning. This is Rebecca from Grove Knits, and if you're new to my podcast, this is a podcast where I just simply talk about my knitting and what's been going on in that realm. And if you're a repeated viewer, thank you so much for actually coming back. I really appreciate it. It's actually been a little while since I recorded. 24th of October, I think, was the last time. And today is, what day is it? 13th of November. So it's been a couple of weeks, which is a good thing. But if I'm honest, I'm actually going to blame my lack of podcasting on Stephen West. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. So today we're going to actually run through a couple of things. We're going to talk about what I've actually been up to. I've got a couple of finished objects, my works in progress, and then a particular item that is stalled and will possibly be frogged. I'm not sure if you'll be able to guess what that might be. Stephen West. And then also what I'm actually thinking about knitting. So, without further ado, let's actually just get on with it, so that this doesn't actually take too long. What I've actually been up to, you'll notice that I'm wearing a particular headdress today. Yesterday was the Polish festival down in Melbourne in Federation Square. I'm Polish-Ukrainian by heritage, and so every year, with the exception of the dreaded COVID years, my husband and I go down for the Polish festival for no other reason than just to immerse ourselves in the culture again and eat, because the food is amazing. So when we're down there, the very first thing we did was buy a platter of 20 pierogies and scoff those down, and then could barely move for a while. We normally do things like then pace ourselves and then eat some hunter's stew, and then do a ridiculous, only Polish, Russian, Ukrainian people would understand amount of vodka shots. But unfortunately, or fortunately, let's go with fortunately, because it's probably a good thing, you couldn't do shots there. So you had to be sensible and just have cans of drinks. So I forewent any type of vodka, which is unheard of at a Polish festival, and remained quite sensible. So came home. So I thought I'd wear my garland today. I'll pop a photo up here of me with my Vyshyvanka on, which is the embroidered top. You wear, like, it's a white peasant's blouse, and you would normally have hand embroidering. You pass them down and make them for children. So you might have hand embroidering all the way down the sleeves, down both sides of the lacing at the front. My particular one was just machine embroidered, because I suppose it's a bit of a lost culture. But it's a Ukrainian top, not a Polish top. And typically you can have sort of the stitching that we do in Ukraine can have some like coded messages, and there's meanings behind each of the stitches. There's some that might mean dates and bits and pieces. So we can have all that type of thing in there as well. So the other reason that I've not been podcasting is just been busy at work. I'm coming towards the end of the year. Most of my classes are all Year 10 students at the moment, and we're in our major assessment time and coming into exams and all that. So I've been focused on marking and just simply getting through the end of the year. Not long to go, which will be awesome. All right, my finished objects. I've spoken about this yarn before. This is a Vidalana. The colour is called Black Cherry. It's 100% wool. It's a chunky weight. And this is from an old knit crate. Now, while I adore the colour of this, it's absolutely beautiful, as you can see. Really beautiful and heathered. See how thick this is as a chunky weight? This is too thick for me to knit on. My other skeins I've got of this, I'm either going to gift to someone or take to a charity shop or something, because I knit one beanie with it and it is painful to knit with. This is, for me, the biggest yarn that I can go to. I cannot knit any bigger than this, and I don't like knitting this. So I made a beanie. There's no pattern with this. This was just simply a beanie. Leftover scraps I had, I just turned into that. I don't even think we can call that a pom-pom, but it's just a little cute little detail. I don't think I could even tell you how many stitches I did. This does fit me. It's an adult size. So one whole skein, use that up. And as I said, the leftovers I just turned into that. So that is a finished object out of this yarn. So I could just see if I could use this yarn because I'm trying to get through and actually use what I've got. But that's a no. No, I can't use it. I have 3 more skeins of this. They're going to be gifted to someone, or I might donate them to one of the local primary schools, or sell them, because I unequivocally know without fail I will not. Oh, hang on. My daughter's doing some crafty stuff. I might give it to my daughter. I will not use this yarn. It is too thick for me. Needles that require this size make my fingers hurt. So, but I did get a beanie out of it, so there you go. So that's one finished object. My other finished object, they're in the wash, so I'll have to pop a photo up here. Either side, I don't know which side it's going to go on. Excuse me. Of my socks, the socks that I knit with the paisley colourway. This is the yarn that I bought when I was in Tasmania. So the colourway is paisley, and it's yarns by Alex. I'll make sure I've got all this linked down below because it was beautiful yarn to knit with. Her colour changing was stunning, as you can see when you look at that sock. And the heel colour is called ochre. For the first time I did the shadow wrap heel, which is a heel that I watched from Denise Earth Tones Girl. I know that she did say that she didn't invent that heel, so she doesn't want to take credit for that, but it's through watching her video that I actually did that shadow wrap heel. I was concerned initially about being able to feel that heel when I wore those socks. I absolutely cannot. So I'll potentially continue with the shadow wrap heel, although I've got to say I really do like a heel flap and gusset, and it doesn't bother me picking up the stitches because I do those, I do a garter bump for the first 3 stitches on either side of my heel flap, so it's actually really easy to pick them up. But what I did love about doing that shadow wrap heel is the colour changing for doing a contrast heel. It was actually really nice and simple, so there was a lot to be said for that. It does get a bit tight on your fingers when you're doing part of that shadow wrap heel, and I'm not giving anything away because it was a free pattern, because as I said, Denise didn't invent it. She got it from somewhere else that was a free pattern. When you're closing them up, you're working with 3 stitches at a time, and that gets a little bit on the smallness of sock needles and with sock yarn and some of those little fiddly bits. That can get a little bit challenging, but nothing that you can't deal with. But definitely you can, as I did, experience drop stitches if you're trying to do that in the car on a bumpy road. So maybe I just need to rethink my choices of where I'm knitting occasionally. Alright, so they're my finished objects. So just the beanie and 1 pair of socks. If I'm seriously honest, the Mystery Knit Along by Stephen West has actually curtailed my knitting mojo a bit. And this is not because it's not Stephen West's fault. It is me and the fact that I really, really dislike... Look, that shawl is beautiful and there's loads of people who have made absolute beauty out of it, but it is not in any way, shape or form a shawl that I would wear. And I love Stephen West shawls. I love the size of them. I quite often love the graphic nature of the patterns, but that one is not for me. Too stripy. Just too stripy. No way, no how. It's not going to happen. So, stalled project. Stephen West shawl. I'm not ripping it out yet. Excuse the plastic noises for a sec. I'm not ripping it out yet because I just want to let it sit for a year, and who knows, I might suddenly be inspired to finish it. I finished all of Clue 1, all of Clue 2, and I can appreciate the graphic nature of it. I actually don't mind this. Don't mind this as a statement piece. This is actually quite pretty. And then we've got the wings and the beautiful cabling. And so the cabling came out really well. My colours work really well together. So as I said, I'm not saying no, I'm not saying never. The cabling was actually quite fun to do. And this yellow yarn, if I do decide to rip this out, I unequivocally, this yellow yarn will become a project that I'm going to talk about a little bit later. So I don't know if I had done neutral colours, maybe I would like it more. But the colours that I've chosen for this, it's just not my... I say as I'm wearing... I haven't told you what I'm wearing. We'll get to that in a second. I say as I'm wearing something blue anyway. This is just not my aesthetic. So, nothing wrong with the pattern. Everyone knows how brilliantly Stephen West does his patterns. His video support is fantastic. Any questions you have, it's all there and easy answered. It is just not my aesthetic, that's all. And I can admit that. I did change my second side of this. So the first side was obviously all knit. I did knit the second side. I had a look on Ravelry at the forum groups, and there was just an extra row you could do so that instead of having to purl each row, you could actually just knit them. So I did that, and that made life much easier. So Stephen West, I appreciate you so much, and I love your vivaciousness and your designs. This one is just not my aesthetic, that's all, and I know that. But for now, it's just going to get popped away in this bag, and if I am so inspired, I will finish it. But if I haven't finished it by this time next year, then I will actually frog it back and reuse the yarn. So he's going to be stored away somewhere for a little while. For now, he can sit up there and just haunt me. Alright, so that, if I'm honest, that's actually affected my knitting mojo, because I actually really feel guilty. I've knit so much of it, and it actually, interestingly, it almost turned into an argument between my husband and I, because he can't believe that I would dare. He doesn't understand that as knitters, if we don't like something, you just can't knit on. You just can't persist through it. So he thinks I'm absolutely mad and is mortified by the thought of me actually ripping it out. Doesn't faze me ripping it out, it's no biggie. I'll reuse the yarn. It's almost like it's just giving me extra stress relief because I get to knit the yarn twice, which is fantastic. What great use of yarn. But as a non-knitter, he doesn't understand that concept. So I'll store it away for a little while. Alright, so now what have I been knitting on? I've started a few different things. I feel that we all understand that concept of when we're not sure what to do, we just start all of the things. So let's go through what we're doing. I'll start with the simplest first. I've got this, you can see that there's blue tones through this black yarn. This is Bendigo Woollen Mills, 100% wool. It is 8 ply or DK weight. And this is it's called Black Blue. So you just see that there's those beautiful blue tones through this. I only have one ball of it, so not enough to do anything serious with. So I just cast on a children's jumper. This is my own modified pattern. If I wanted to link it to anything, I'd probably link it to the flax, but I've modified that quite heavily as well. And just simply knitting it through, simple stripe there. I was going to do just some simple colour work, but got lazy. And I thought I'd actually just do up a bunch of these and either gift them away or sell them on to someone that wants them. This one's size 2 to 4 years. So this one typically comes to work with me just for me to knit on at lunchtime. Just something small, portable, that I actually don't have to think about. I don't need the pattern with me because I don't need a pattern for it. So this makes the perfect travel kind of project. So I've got that on the go. Now, everything that I'm about to talk about from my works in progress, I will actually link below. Caitlin Hunter's Ghost Horses. Now, I've always admired this, but I haven't wanted it to be so fitted. I actually want to have the arms a bit larger and have a little bit more ease around the chest. I also plan to not do the full colourwork body. I'm actually going to probably stop around about here, the colourwork. I want the horses and that there, and then just go to a solid colour after it. So I've actually cast this on. My goodness, is it fun to knit. It has been a while since I've done colourwork. Let me pull her out. Now, what I am using is, I'll start with the plain colour. These are small balls of a Bendigo Woollen Mill 100% wool yarn. Now these I actually bought on special. See, it's actually quite a pretty shiny grey. It actually looks like it's got a little bit of silk content in it. This I bought on special because they were just simply getting rid of the bag. So it was odd weights. It was 328 grams. I got it for $10. It says 100% wool. But as you know, most of my yarn I get from theirs, and normally their yarns that have this kind of sheen have a little bit of silk. So while it's definitely wool, I can tell that by feeling it. But whether or not it's got maybe 10% silk in it as well, it's got a nice high twist. There you can see, it's got a nice high twist to it. So I'm using that as my grey / purple base. It's almost got a bit of a purple tint to it. Quite nice. I say not... it's not soft. It's not like their luxury soft, but it's close. All right. And then what I'm actually using with it is a Zauber ball. Let me just grab a second one. So one of these guys, a Zauber ball, crazy Zauber ball. These are the colours I'm doing. And that gives me the colour changing through the colour work. So, sorry, it's going to curl a little bit. So here's where I'm up to at the moment. So that grey is working beautifully. I'm so in love with the colours of this so far. So that grey / purple is working beautifully with these colour changes. It is absolutely amazing. You can see on the pattern I am about there. I'm about to start the horses. I haven't knit on this week purely because I've actually been quite tired when I've gotten home from work, and I can't do colour work that I need to focus on like this when I'm tired. But where it's been fantastic is getting back into knitting with yarn on both of my fingers. When I do colour work, I hold my secondary colour continental style and my main colour English style, and I actually use both colours at the same time, which means I don't get all the yarn twisting, which is fantastic. Unlike the fact that I've just twisted all this yarn in this bag, my wonderful Dash Hound project bag. I actually realised I need some more project bags. What I need to do is actually watch a little bit of YouTube on making some bags and get some made, because I've got a couple of tubs of fabric in the shed. So I should actually just make myself simple drawstring. I find I really go for like the look of a lot of these fancy ones, and yet I keep going back to a simple drawstring with a handle as my stock standard. So I need a couple more this size and that next size up. So hopefully I'll get some made sometime soon. But I have been saying that for a long time. Excuse the noise again. Hopefully it doesn't fall. My summer souffle. You may recall that I'm knitting a second summer souffle. I'm on the second ball, just started the second ball. Really not loving the colour, but will absolutely wear it. So I haven't separated for the sleeves yet. The only reason I'm a bit behind, you'll notice here as well, I've got this bit of string here. That's how I mark the back of it. Normally I leave it a little, almost like a tag. So I have the pearl row, which ends up being where the ruffle goes. So that pearl row goes right around, and that's how you attach the ruffle. The delay in this was simply that I had not wound. You will see in a sec. Wrong side, there. You'll see these two other yarn cakes here now. I hadn't wound the yarn, that was all. And it was obviously just me that is like this, because plenty of people actually love doing the yarn winding. I hate it with a passion. I hate having to get all that equipment out and actually wind yarn, which is one of the reasons I've stopped buying myself advent calendars, because I've got a whole box of minis that haven't been wound. It is so painful. So painful. Can't stand it. Alright. So, and I've got a beautiful Swift. My ball winder, I need a different one. It's a Knit Picks one, and it gets, every time there's a bit of tension, it starts doing that and making a lot of noise. That's okay. Alright. So now that I've got those wound, I'll progress with this. I've got motivation to progress with this because it's cotton and we're coming into summer, and I really want to be able to wear something that's a bit cooler. Hang this. We haven't spoken about what I'm wearing. What am I wearing? I think this is the Jakers. Let me just have a quick look. Okay, yes, I am wearing the Jakers by Isabel Kramer. Sorry, yeah, you can see that. It's got beautiful detail here. Just a bit of lace around the top. A nice size neck, actually. I quite like this size neck, where it's just... Oops, let's show everyone my bra. Sorry about that. So it's... Now I'm all... Alright. Nice size neck. Nice little bit of lace there. Good fit, relaxed. I added a bit of length to my arms for this, just so I could have it up like this as needed. And you'll notice it's actually not a ribbed cuff. So nice and comfy, nice and light, because it's just in a 4-ply or fingering weight. Nice, simple sweater. So Jakers by Isabel Kramer. Really great pattern writing that she does. The bottom on the hem is the same as the cuffs. Just okay, another project. Good old Pearl Soho's half and half triangle wrap. Oh, and naturally I'm not on the end. Alright, so here's my colours. And I'm not on the end of the row, so I can't open it all the way up. I've almost finished this colour. I'm down to, you know what, I'm not almost finished. I'm only like halfway through this first half really, because I'm down to 105 stitches, I think. But I only cast on 230. So, anyway. So that's this colour, the main colour, one colour. And this will be the secondary colour. Now the reason I've gone with these is this is actually going to be a gift for my mother. Her birthday is on the 30th of December. So this will be a Christmas and birthday gift. She's not really a shawl wearer, but she loves knitted and crocheted items in the lounge room as almost like lap rugs. So I thought that this half and half triangle wrap would actually be the perfect gift as a shawl if she decides she wants to wear a shawl, but as a lap rug blanket. And these colours actually go with her aesthetic that she has often in the lounge room. She's got a handmade quilt that has a lot of these colours within them as well. So that's why I've got this. I've gone with rustic yarn, so non-superwash, just in a fingering, Bendigo Woollen Mills. So this one is rustic mustard, which is quite lovely. And this is rustic forest. And let me move that little bit of thread out of your way. Rustic forest. So these balls are 200 grams and there's 720 meters roughly in them. So I should get this entire shawl out of the 2 balls. I've got this left of the mustard and then this one of the forest. And this is actually a bit of an experiment for me. The reason I did there's 2 main sizes with this half and half wrap shawl. It's a free pattern, again it'll be linked below. I think the first size is 190 stitches and the second size is 260. I thought I was casting on 260 stitches, but while I had read 260 in my head, I heard 230. I don't know why I do things sometimes either. So I did 230 and then thought that's fine. Anyway, so we'll see if I get, I do have a second ball of both of these just in case, but I'm interested to see what number of stitches gets me out of this particular yarn, an entire half of the shawl, because I actually like the idea of having a substantial shawl slash lap rug, because a lot of people I know aren't really shawl wearers, but there's a few that I'd actually like to do some gift knitting for, but some serious gift knits, not just beanies and hats. So if I can get a whole one of these out of 2 skeins of the Bendigo Woollen Mills yarn, it means I've got a good gift that I can knit for them, and while they probably won't wear it as a shawl, they would definitely use it as a blanket in their lounge rooms, or as just something to pop over their shoulders on cool nights or just over their laps. So I quite like the idea of this particular shawl for that purpose. I know it's a shawl, they'll use it as a blanket, we're all happy. So that's my test with this. These colours, as I said, fit in with my mother's lounge room and the aesthetic that she has going there. I don't mind them either actually. They're actually especially this mustard, it's really a colour I use a lot. Alright. I'm actually surprisingly, I hadn't cast this on before. I know everyone's been doing this shawl for quite some time. I hadn't cast it on because it's just plain knitting, and I thought it was actually a little bit boring, but it's actually quite enjoyable to have a big mindless project on the go, and it feels different to knitting a blanket, because I've done knitted blankets before too, and they become quite a slog. This, I don't know if it's, I'm doing an I-cord edging, and I am doing German short rows. That's just my preferred short row method. So I don't know if it's just the enjoyment of getting along a row to a certain point, turning around and coming back, and having it go on the side that I'm on shorter each time. But it's actually quite enjoying, I'm enjoying knitting on it, and I'm finding I'm picking up that when I'm watching something at night, because I don't need to think about it. All right, purchases. I know I shouldn't have purchases, but I do have purchases. All right. These guys, let me talk to you about these. So I received an email because I'm on the Bendigo Woollen Mills email list. Not surprising. And they have occasionally they come out with specialty yarns, and this is a specialty yarn. This is 60% wool, 40% cotton. So it's got that slubbing through it that you'll see. So you can see that the strands have that little bit of roughness to them. That's obviously the cotton. So, and you can see that it's taken the colour differently. Doesn't show it that well on this one, but you can see it definitely on this pink one. So the cotton holds the dye different to the wool. So this is 8-ply. It's their Calypso range. So this is Calypso Saffron. I have 4 balls of this. Now their 8-ply typically has about 380 to 400 meters of yarn. So I easily get a short sleeved top out of 3 and a long sleeve jumper out of 4. So I bought 4 of this because I quite like this particular color. I feel that it's quite similar, different tone, but quite similar to this particular color here. So 4 balls of this. I then bought 4 balls of Calypso Seashell because I really am loving this teal colour, and you'll see quite clearly here the cotton's taken the colour differently to the wool. So 4 balls of this. I don't know how to describe the feel of it. It's soft. It's soft because it's wool and cotton, but it feels like it's obviously not, being the cotton especially, it's not going to have the same flexibility in it when I knit. It's got a little bit of stretch, but not much. The cotton is really stopping any kind of stretch. So presumably if I knit this at a larger gauge, this will actually have quite a lovely drape. And I have 1 ball of this because I originally wasn't quite in love with this colour. This is Hibiscus, Calypso Hibiscus, but I wanted something as a colour pop. And my husband was with me and insisted that I pick up this one because he was in love with this Hibiscus. He was disappointed I didn't buy a sweater's quantity of this. And it's actually growing on me. But I think that it will, I have a tendency to go quite red. My face, I flush quite easily. So I think that would actually make me look that way all the time. But anyway, so I can use that as a colour pop for something. So they're my yarn purchases. I had to get those because they typically just do their special lots maybe for 2-3 weeks at a time, and that's it. Now finally, what am I thinking about knitting? So there's 2 main things I actually want to cast on and be thinking about knitting, and my intent with it is to use, I've got Nora back there, but for these Zauber balls, okay, so the colour work. I'm in love with doing this Ghost Horses. I love the idea of using colour change yarn in colour work. Alright, so Tracy Miller of the Grocery Girls, she has the Wild Rose Cowl. What I'm thinking of is casting on some of these. She's just revised the pattern now for multiple yarn types and sizes, everything from fingering up to DK weight Aran, I think it is as well. but I actually like the idea of doing the motifs in a colour changing yarn. So I'm thinking of casting this on. Nice simple things. And the other thing that I want to cast on, I'll have to pop a photo up of it. Scandia Knits, I typically join her mittens clubs. She does, I think she's done 3 in the past, Salbu mitten clubs. And she's done a new knit, can't speak today. She has just started a new mitten club called Nordic Mittens. Again, it'll all be linked below. Her 3rd version of it is exactly what I've been looking for. I mentioned at the beginning, the whole reason I'm wearing this headdress, I'm Polish-Ukrainian descent. She has just come out with, now what she's doing now is moving away from Salbu style mittens, but using that style and using other motifs. So apparently she's also got Russian heritage in her background. So she has just released a mitten pattern with the Russian motif throughout it. I saw that and it was a light bulb moment for me, because what I've been wanting to do is I'll do a little bit of cross-stitching and embroidery work in the Ukrainian style. I've been wanting to bring Ukrainian style into my knitting and actually create some pieces with Ukrainian motifs. I mentioned with my Vyshyvanka, the stitching, that you can have coded things in Ukrainian. It's all, there's a whole history behind every motif that you use in Ukrainian stitching, and they all mean things. So I've been really wanting to start simple and bring in some motifs from the Ukraine into some mittens. When she came out with the Russian pattern, the particular motif that she's used is a Russian one. We use that same one in the Ukraine, but just normally with a different colour system. We might use mainly oranges and browns and those kind of tones in our colouring. So what I'm thinking I'm going to do is knit her Russian mitten, you'll be seeing it here on the screen, and replace the colourings to Ukrainian colourings and have a look at how that looks. And then possibly use her base mitten and then change out the patterns and the motifs for a whole host of different Ukrainian motifs that I've actually got in and that I've drawn up in the Ukraine style. So I'm actually really excited by getting that mitten on the needles and playing around with, first of all, just knitting her pattern but in Ukrainian colours, and then taking that pattern as a base and modifying it for, obviously just for my own use, and for gifts. If I can get this embedded, the pleasure and joy that this will bring to so many of my family members is going to be next level, because there are so many of them that don't have access to, since my grandmother died a long time ago. I'm the only person that does a lot of this type of craft in this style still. So it would really feel, sorry, it makes me a little bit emotional. I really feel that I can do something wonderful for my family members with this stuff. So anyway, so very excited at the thought of taking those mittens and making them Ukrainian and going down that pathway with the colours and the motifs. So I might, with the sorry, I hadn't expected myself to react this way. As I'm having that reaction, maybe it would be valuable for me to actually put the rest of the stuff I was going to knit aside today and actually work on that today once I've done the house cleaning, the rest of it, because, you know, life goes on, we have to do that stuff. All right, sorry, I've just lowered the tone of everything here. All right, I think that I've actually gone through and covered everything that's been going. As I said, I haven't, it's been really disappointing for me because of that mystery knit along. And again, it is nothing, it is so beautiful. It is just not my aesthetic. That's all it is. We all know his patterns are beautiful. And in fact, he's just released another new shawl that I really actually like the aesthetic of. I really do like it. My learning out of this is, I've had 2 mystery knit alongs that have been a failure for me. And the first was a Halloween one that I did a few years back. And now this one is, perhaps I don't do mystery knit alongs that are so large. Maybe I wait and just see what they look like. I said, no matter what, there's no waste whatsoever in the yarn, because I am absolutely comfortable ripping something out, rewinding it up and reusing it. So there's zero waste. There's no issue with that. But it's just been time. And so I really love that centre section. I like the sections individually, just not together. It feels a bit too Batman-y for me. And me of 30 years ago might be all over that and feeling fabulous. Me of now, not so much. So anyway, we'll call that a wrap now. Thank you so very much for joining me. I'm so thankful to actually have this space just to talk through my knitting, because it's wonderful. So I hope you have a most wonderful week, 2 weeks, however long it's going to be, and I will no doubt talk to you later. Thanks so much. Bye.